I told you that Kang the Conqueror will kill Ant-Man in the MCU? Would you believe me? Would you want that to happen? Welcome to the Chaos Multiverse, everybody. Jimmy or Chaos, and we have a huge theory kind of based off something that Jonathan Majors said in an interview on Jimmy Kimmel. Jonathan Majors played He Who Remains in the Loki series and will play Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. I'm not the only one with this theory. I saw Comic Cast said something about it as well, and a couple other YouTubers talked about it, but I want to elaborate on it even more and why I think it could actually be a possibility. So, before we get into what he said or why I started the video off with Ant-Man's gonna die in the MCU, let's kind of establish the baseline of the MCU. One of the biggest issues people have is there's no levity. There's no endgame, if you will, no pun intended. And what I mean by that is everybody's worried because the multiverse has been introduced that anything is up and eligible for a reboot or a revamp, or hey, let's bring Iron Man back or Captain America or Yondu, and we can just do it in the name of the multiverse and another timeline and a variant. And a lot of people don't like that because it ruins any actual substance of, wow, Iron Man died in Endgame and he's done. It's over. That was his glorious outing of the MCU, and most people were happy with how it went, right? Well, a lot of people are worried with the new variants, timelines, multiverse, that's going to be kind of muddied, if you will. And it won't be doing a service to the character in the MCU if you bring him back as a variant. And it tarnishes the legacy that was built up over character development in so many years. People don't want to see that, and they're worried that that's what's going to start happening with a lot of these big characters because these big characters make money, and now if you have a get-out-of-jail-free card to bring them back in some form or fashion, even cast with a different actor or actress, you do it, right? So, a lot of people have that argument that, hey, I go watch a Marvel movie, and if somebody dies, I'm not really upset about it because they could come back in any form or fashion now that there's variants in the multiverse and different timelines. So, there's that argument. Now, let's talk about Kang the Conqueror and Ant-Man. Now, if you look at it on paper, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Ant-Man versus Kang the Conqueror? Come on. Kang the Conqueror is going to be set up to be one of the biggest villains we've seen in a long time. Even Jonathan Majors said in that interview, he stated that if Kang is destined to be as big a villain as Thanos, that he is going to have a long-lasting effect on viewers compared to superheroes. We need to read between the lines there, okay? Because what he's saying is he has to have a lasting effect. He already had an effect as He Who Remains in Loki. He's going to have an effect in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but he needs to have an effect even more than that, not just hopping from movie to Disney Plus series. Thanos had a decade-long lasting effect. He reverberated the second we saw him in a post-credit scene all the way up until the end of Endgame. And if Kang the Conqueror is indeed going to be one of those big bad villains with that much longevity, he needs to have an effect, a long-lasting one, on the viewers. So you look at Ant-Man and you're like, okay, that doesn't make a lot of sense if his big rival is going to be Ant-Man, right? Well, it may actually make sense. And Jimmy Kimmel asked him. He actually didn't ask him. He pointed out that Kang could kill Ant-Man easily. If he's miniature size, you just punch him and he's gone. And Major simply replied by saying, we'll see. He also stated that he's read the entire film's script. So he didn't count out that he could kill Ant-Man in any way or fashion. He actually kept it pretty cryptic and mysterious and kept it open-ended. So here's why this makes sense now. Ant-Man, Paul Rudd, super fan favorite, right? But also one of the lower grossing Marvel movies. Let's be real. Ant-Man's always a side character. He's funny, he comes in, he gets big or small, and he helps out. But in the bigger sense of thing, when you're looking at, hey, who can we actually, how would you say, I guess end their career in the MCU, and everybody's not going to just be super upset about it. Or we could get away with this one, and then we can actually prove to our fans, hey, if we get rid of somebody, it's lasting, and they're gone. So you need to keep that in mind moving forward, because there are actual stakes. Things are at stake here, and we don't just reboot them with a variant. Well, what better way to establish Kang and his dominance than getting rid of Ant-Man? Killing Ant-Man in the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Now, I know the Quantumania is a big link onto why he is going to be the villain in this movie, and he has big connections to it as well, and we probably saw his Citadel housed in the Quantumania. But my point is, Ant-Man, Paul Rudd could be the sacrificial Avenger to really show us how serious they are to build out and make a lasting effect with Kang the Conqueror. It makes sense. It really does. Are people going to be sad that Paul Rudd dies as Ant-Man? Yes, you are. Everybody loves him. Everybody's connected to him. But in the bigger sense of things, as we move on, you'll get over it. You'll move on. And then you'll also have that little thought in the back of your head, okay, Marvel will jump off that cliff. I mean, no pun intended, Black Widow, with more Avengers and high-level superheroes in this timeline, in this MCU, and get rid of them to establish what is actually coming, a darker world in the MCU. So, I say, if he's going to tease that, we'll see if he kills Ant-Man, I think he kills Ant-Man. I'm going to predict it now. I'm not the only one to predict it. I'm not the first one, but we'll come back in a few years and see if I'm right, because they have to establish how big of a threat Kang the Conqueror is. You can't do that by almost killing a bunch of Avengers or superheroes. You have to have an end game, and Ant-Man could be that first end game. He may not be the last at all. We may see Kang the Conqueror just go on an absolute killing spree. We really might. I think that's a way they could go, and I don't want them to backdoor this and it be Ant-Man from another timeline or a variant of Ant-Man. I saw this theory as well. At the very beginning of Ant-Man and the Wasp, he kills Ant-Man, and then all of a sudden you find out, oh, it was a variant. In the main timeline, Paul Rudd is still alive. Now we got to go try to stop Kang. If they're going to do it that way and cheat it, then he needs to kill the main timeline Ant-Man at the end of the movie. That would shock everybody. He kills an Ant-Man variant at the beginning. We're like, oh wait, Ant-Man's still alive. Save us, Ant-Man. And at the end of the movie, he kills that Ant-Man too. That would establish Kang the Conqueror as the villain that we think he's going to be moving forward. I really think they need to go dark with this. I do. And you have to pick your spots and who you can sacrifice in the bigger sense of things. I think Ant-Man's on the table. I truly, truly do. And if you're a fan of him, I'm sorry. I'm a fan of Paul Rudd. It would be sad, but it would also be pretty cool to see Kang the Conqueror just start bouncing around, offing people left and right. I mean, think Gore the God Butcher. He's going to be doing that to different gods in Thor Love and Thunder too. It's going to be interesting. Let me know you guys' thoughts, and I'll see you soon.